Today we're going to show you how to install a speedometer slash tachometer into your dirt bike. In this example we're going to be using my 2002 XR250R. This is the Vapor model, which is made by Trail Tech, and we're going to show you how to install this particular model. We'll also show you all the features it has, which is a lot more than just a speedometer and a tachometer. Take a quick glance at the back of the box here. You can see we've got a lot of features. You have temperature, which not only includes air temperature, but also engine temperature, a tachometer, which is RPM bar graph or a number readout, so you have both. Speedometer, which gives you current speed and max speed. It is backlit, which we'll go over that in a bit. LED lights. You have a clock, which gives you the hour meter, stopwatch, ride time, accumulative ride time, and permanent hour meter. And then you have your distance, which gives you the odometer and the adjustable distance. An overview of what's included: of course you get the Vapor unit itself, which has some leads on the back of it. You get two mounting clamps, which is for a standard bar and an oversized bar. This is the mounting plate for the back of the actual Vapor itself. Here's the wire for the RPM gauge. This wraps around the coil or the boot of the spark plug, and we'll go over that during installation. We have our temperature sensor wire here, which can go in the spark plug or elsewhere on the engine, depending on the bike. And then we've got our power wire here. I've got it unpackaged already because I was getting a fitment on the bike. You've got your speed sensor cable right here. And then we've got a small package of accessories, which are some wire ties, some screws, and you'll also notice they come with magnets. Now this may vary depending on the bike. One, you can drill out a slot in your rotor and circlip it in that way, or you can replace an existing bolt, which has a magnet built in as well. We're going to probably try this method. You also get a nice key fob, and then you get a business card for Trail Tech. Now keep this card because you really don't get any included instructions, because every application could be a little bit different. So go to their website, trailtech.net/setup, for all your setup needs. Also in the back you'll notice there's a little compartment. This houses your battery. Simply screw that with a coin or something, and then you've got your battery right there, which is a standard 2032. Before we begin setup and installation on the bike, we're going to go ahead and attach our back plate. Simply put it on the back and then put it in with the supplied screws. Now once we have the plate installed, we're going to take one of the included nuts, slide it into the slot here. Once we have the nut in place, we'll go ahead and get the appropriate arm, insert our screw, and then loosely fit this arm in place. Those teeth allow you to make minor adjustments. You loosen it and then you can adjust it. Now we're going to mount the actual Trail Tech computer to the bike. If you have a crossbar pad, it's going to be easier if you remove the pad when you install this. What we're going to do right now is loosely fit the bracket where it needs to go, and you should just be able to push it right over right there, and it's pretty tight even without a screw in there. We can tilt the Trail Tech however we want to do it. We're going to get it positioned and then we'll crank it down. I want this kind of low so it's not sticking up too far. We still want to have access to the wiring from the backhand side. And if you don't like it in a certain position, go ahead and move it. We're going to attempt to put it on the curve, which I think I like it there a little better because it centers it in the bike. Once you've tightened the screw on the actual mount and you're satisfied it's not going to move, we're going to go ahead and hook up our power wire. That way we can get the appropriate length. Now you can run this a couple different ways. You can run it to the stator, so it's only on when the bike is running, but keep in mind you're not going to have that bright of a backlight. Or you can run it to a 12-volt power source, which is switched or constant. We're going to run it to a constant 12-volt power source. That way the unit will stay on. The unit will shut off 20 minutes after there's no activity. It's a very low drain, so you don't really have to worry about it draining your battery. In my case, I'm going to tap in right here. I am running the Tusk Street Legal Kit. It's a 12-volt system. Be sure to put a fuse on this power wire. Now this is already fused, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to tap in right here, get it soldered up, and we'll move on our way. Once we have the Vapor all wired up, we're going to go ahead and plug it back in. Probably can't see that on camera, but the backlit is well lit. Now we're going to move on to the RPM sensor wire. Not sure I'm going to use this feature, but I'm going to install it just to have it. Let's go ahead and plug it in. That way we can get the appropriate length run it through your bike. We will show you where this installs at the coil. Now that we've got our RPM sensor ran, you can see the wire is way too long. Now I've already talked to Trail Tech support, and I can cut this wire. Cut the wire, and then we need to strip back some of the black here. Once we've got it stripped back and ready to go, we're going to go ahead and wrap this around the spark plug wire right here. Now they recommend, they have 4 different options. You can connect it to the coil, you can connect it to the inner boot, you can connect it around the coil, or you can connect it to the wire. Per their tech support, this seems to be the most accurate way. So you'll want to wrap it around 5 times. There's 2. We'll put a wire tie on there, and then we'll plug the spark plug boot back in. Once we've got it wire tied and complete, go ahead and plug our spark plug back in. As mentioned earlier, you get a variety of different magnets and bolts with this kit. So we're going to remove this rotor bolt right here and replace it with the appropriate one that's included with the kit right here. Now this has a magnet in it. Go ahead and snug that back down. Now that we have the bolt installed, it's time to install the wire. Now you may be able to cut this wire. I'm not going to do so. It is kind of stiff, so we're going to have to route it where we want it. We're going to route it right along the brake. We'll go ahead and plug it in. Now all these plugs, they only go into one slot. There's no way you can mess them up. We'll go ahead and leave this loose right now, and then we're going to do a little bit of trial and error here. We're going to just tape with some painter's tape this to the fork leg. You'll notice it does have some double-sided tape. That would be permanent. But right now we need to get a reading to make sure we're getting a reading as that bolt passes this sensor. So we've got the bike on the stand, and we'll spin the tire to make sure we're actually getting a readout. We now have the speed sensor temporarily mounted. You'll notice, this is our screw right here, that it does not pass through the middle of the actual sensor, just the edge. You don't want it going through the middle of the sensor, otherwise you can get a false reading or it could read twice. Also notice that we're at close distance, but we're not too close. You want it a 1/2 inch or less in order to get a reading. We can spin the tire and we can see if we're getting a reading on our vapor. Now we'll go ahead and spin the wheel and see if we get an actual reading. And we do. So we know that location will work just fine. Once you've got it properly set, go ahead and remove the plastic backing from the double-sided tape and stick it down. Another nice feature is you also notice this quick disconnect right here. So if you need to reroute your cabling, you don't need to take this off and try to find another piece of double-sided tape. You can just disconnect it, reroute the wire, plug it back in. Now something worth mentioning is make sure the wiring does not interfere with the brake rotor. Go ahead and wire tie it so there's no possibility for it to touch and ruin that wire. I decided to wire tie the entire thing to the front brake for a nice clean look. Now you may have noticed I did not install the temperature sensor. There's one reason why. The cable is too short. I do have another one on the way, but I do want to show you how it works. This connects to the vapor. This end would connect to either around the spark plug, or in this case, around the oil cooler line. You'd simply take the line out, the bolt out, insert that, and then run it to the sensor. Now for a water-cooled bike, make sure you get the appropriate kit. It actually comes with a T with a sensor on it. You cut one of your radiator hoses, install the T with the sensor, connect them back together, and that's how that would work. Once I get the long cable, I'll show you the installation of that. It should only take about 2 to 3 minutes to install, because literally the hardest part is going to be trying to conceal the cable and then just undoing a bolt. It's really simple. Now it's time to start setting up the actual Trail Tech Vapor system. The first thing we need to do is measure the diameter of our front tire. You have a 21-inch wheel, most dirt bikes, but that's actually not the complete size with the tire. You have to take that into consideration. We're going to go ahead and measure. And this measurement does need to be in millimeters. We are 27.5 inches. Now for us in the US, we're going to need to convert that into millimeters. It's really easy to do. Go to Google, type it in. This happens to be 698.5 millimeters. We take that number and multiply it by 3.14. That final number is the number we need to finish setting up this Trail Tech. Now it's time to set up the vapor. The first thing you need to do is notate the 3 buttons. You've got an up button, a down button, and a mode button. We need to hold all 3 of these at the same exact time. There we go. Now first thing you notice, units. So you've got miles an hour or you've got kilometers an hour. We obviously want miles an hour since we're in the US. Hit mode. So now we move on to the tire size. To move to the next selection, hit the up arrow because we're in the 2000s. Now we hit the down arrow to change this number. Hit the up arrow again because we are at 2194 roughly. There's our tire size. Once you're done, hit mode. Now you can have it on a 12-hour or 24-hour time. We're going to leave 12, hit mode. Now the current time is 2:48 p.m. We'll put that in here. Hit mode. Now PPR, this would be pulses. We're going to leave this at, we're just going to leave this alone. We don't need this feature. This is a pulse right here. If you did PPR, you would also put a number in here. Units, we're in Fahrenheit. Now we've got our high temperature. So we can set a high temperature, which will give off a warning light. So if we don't want our bike getting over 240 degrees, we can go ahead and set that. So let's just set, that'll be our high temperature, and we hit mode. Now this is danger, so let's go ahead and set this one at 300, hit mode. Now what'll happen with these danger and high is you'll get an idiot light that tells you you're running too hot. Now we have one for the shift. We can actually have this unit tell us when we want to shift. We're going to put it at 8,000. And then we have a shift 2. We'll also bump that up to 8,000 RPMs. We're not going to use this feature, but it's there. And there you are. You're all set. And that's all there is to setting this up. Super easy to set up, super easy to use. Gives you a lot of features. You've got your speed. If we were riding right now, we would see how fast we're going. We've got our distance, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is accurate. We've got our time, 254, and it's 254 on the nose. Now if we want to go to the next screen over here, we've got our RPM, we've got our total trip, and we've got our speed, and it'll give us the temperature of the bike. The last screen, temperature of the bike, which will give us a max, miles an hour, total trip, and so on. Now granted, I have not yet had a chance to use this in real world, but I will be featuring it in upcoming videos. We still have to finish this bike. But I can tell you right now, all the features it has for the price, I don't think you can really beat it. And the ease of installation. If I was not filming, if I didn't care what the wiring looked like as much, this would have taken me maybe 20 minutes at the most. Even with filming, it was about an hour. Be sure to watch for upcoming videos where we feature the Trail Tech Vapor. We'll have some on-camera footage with the GoPro so you can see how it actually works in action. And we'll also be installing that temperature sensor once we get the longer wire. Hopefully this video helped you make a decision on a new tachometer on virtually any motorcycle there is. And hopefully the video helped ease your pain of installation. As you can see, it's really easy to install. If you think you are interested in purchasing one of these Vapor by Trail Tech, be sure to check out the links in the video description below. I'll have Amazon links directly to this product, as well as Trail Tech's page with all their installation manuals. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post those below. And as always, thanks for watching.